Today's episode is brought to you by the Vegas Bear Guys and 2AT Fitness.
Everything sequel contains explicit language. And why the fudge not, you melon farmer?
Hello and welcome to the Everything Sequel Podcast. This is the 1997 Singles Edition. Today, Speed 2 Cruise Control. Michael Shantz here of the How Dare You Awards. Joining me, the man careening through the ocean himself, Tom Stewart of Lonesome Whistle Productions. Hit him in the bullseye, Tom.
There's no little girls in here, just big women. The recently departed Mike Haggerty there.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Bridget Everett.
Yeah, for those of us that know.
Oh, Seinfeld, Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Mm-hmm.
Cheers.
Absolutely.
Lucky Louie.
Overboard.
Yeah. Well, there you go. There's your connection. That's why he's in this movie.
Exactly.
I count him as one of the two thoroughly good performances in this film.
One of the two?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we alluded to this in our, should we reveal?
Well, we should reveal. Okay, well, how do we do this?
I don't know.
I I feel I should just say, is it Willem Dafoe?
It better be, right?
Of course it is.
Okay, thank you.
Of course it fucking is. Maybe the only part of this of Speed 2 Cruise Control that improves on the original.
Oh, you don't like?
No, I like.
Okay.
But I don't Willem Dafoe like.
You're Dennis Hopper doesn't raise to the level?
We'll talk about it. I have no issues with Dennis Hopper, but
because come on, he's so much
this
fun.
This is a more evenly paced performance than we get from Dennis Hopper in Speed.
Okay.
Honestly, Willem Dafoe is doing some stuff here that goes beyond the Call of Duty for the film he's in.
Oh, so far beyond, yeah.
This is a legitimate character thrown in.
And you know what's funny?
A movie that doesn't roll that way.
I hate to skip to the very end of the movie at the very beginning of our podcast, but I do remember seeing this movie in the theater, and even on our last episode on Mortal Kombat Annihilation, I remember saying something to the effect of how much Speed 2, seeing it in the movie theater, I was just sort of livid.
Yeah.
Because your expectations are high and you want to see a great movie, a great sequel to a great movie. And then you get Speed 2 Cruise Control. But there was this one moment when that plane slams into like the mast or whatever it is on the oil tanker.
Yeah.
And when he starts laughing maniacally, there's this point where I remember even in the movie theater going, well, now that's so ridiculous, it's almost delicious.
There are a few moments acting moments he has in this film, which I think are worth the price of admission alone.
Yeah.
And that's why this is the top of my list, and that is why I might pause before I'd say it's a bad movie. It's really that and one other sequence in the film. That's it.
Well, let's wait on that until we get to it.
Oh yeah, we'll wait on that one.
All right.
But I suspect we're of like minds on that one too.
Probably. All right.
The UB40 concert, right?
Of course.
Yes, this movie this is a movie called Speed that stops for a UB40 concert.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't remember the equivalent scene in Speed where where the bus slowed down for a roadside performance by Jimmy Buffett.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Could not agree more. This movie, fuck. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, obviously we are talking Speed 2 Cruise Control, yet another 1997 movie. This one's directed by Jan de Bont. If you're a movie fan, I think most people remember Jan de Bont.
Mm-hmm.
He did direct
Especially if you're a disaster movie fan.
Yeah, he directed the first Speed. He directed Twister. I loved both those movies. And then we get into, you know, The Haunting and Laura Croft Tomb Raider, The Cradle of Life. But of course, you know, where he got his start was as a cinematographer.
Yeah.
And he's a cinematographer on, you know, Die Hard and Hunt for Red October, Basic Instinct,
yeah.
Black Rain, even Cujo, going back to Cujo.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I forgot about Hunt for Red October, and that's that and Die Hard.
Those two really speak well to his idea of being able to create a shot and making things look beautiful.
And you know they play into this movie, both of those.
Yeah.
They're
and that's why I can never
feel like Die Hard and feel like a submarine movie.
Yeah, that's why on this watching, I remember thinking to myself, "Oh, I'm not nearly as mad at this movie as I was when I first saw it. There's just too much."
Very effective sequences.
Yeah, and even though there are so many times throughout this movie, you're wondering, why am I watching this? Why is this what they are choosing to put on screen? What they're putting on screen looks pretty good, and shows like more than competency, is actually interesting to look at.
Agreed. You'll get no argument for me there.
All right. Well, once again, Tom, I mentioned this, I think, also in our last episode, 4% on Rotten Tomatoes for Speed 2. This movie is famously bad.
Yeah.
I mean, when this movie came out, people, I think, enjoyed drubbing this movie all to shit.
Completely, yeah. Well, I understand that. I just think there are worse things in the world, you know?
Right.
Like a really bad Oscar bait movie is worse than this, you know. I would reserve 4% for something like Green Book or The English Patient, you know, that kind of territory.
There you go.
There's no fun or joy to be had with movies like that, but there really is with this. And it's just, I was just struck by how like I said in the ranking episode, by how easily it went down.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at no point in this movie am I sort of struggling with it.
Right.
In terms of it being watchable and enjoyable.
Well, I think it's interesting you say that, because there's a dichotomy for me. 1997, I mean, it's a long time ago. So I'm constantly, as I was watching it, I was constantly trying to go back in time, in the Wayback Time machine, to think about what made me so angry about it and why I wasn't enjoying this movie.
It's like Hollywood's worst impulses, right? All
and I think that's what it mostly had to do with, and because obviously, when you're starting from zero in talking about this movie and comparing to the original Speed, you don't have Keanu Reeves. And so this movie's going to be different based on that alone.
Yeah.
But it's like you have Sandra Bullock and you have Jan de Bont. And so I think I had...
there's definitely a way you can slot someone else in there.
Right.
But this movie didn't do that. Didn't pull that off. That's the problem.
I think what's amazing was that I had this Jan de Bont expectation for the movie to be good. And it's not good, but it's a whole lot of fun.
It really is.
And I think because I was expecting it to be good, I wasn't recognizing it as fun back then.
Yeah, I completely understand that, and I think again we're in that American Werewolf situation where you can't conceive of what the sequel to the original would be, but as you're watching this movie, you realize what it could have been, and you realize this movie doesn't add up to that.
Yeah, right.
And that's a problem. But if you just roll with it, it's not as you know, if you have no expectations of where you're gonna go,
Right.
there's whole sequences and performances in this movie that are actually very enjoyable. So I don't know. I still don't know what to do with it as an object of film.
Yeah,
But-
it's a strange
But
strange
I know
movie.
it didn't feel like most 2-hour movies that it didn't have the heaviness of most 2-hour movies I've
Yeah.
seen.
Right.
So that says something, you know?
And again, in 1997, I would have said 4%. That's right, but 4% seems pejorative right now.
Yeah.
You know,
Punishing, right?
punishing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I don't think a 4% movie is as watchable as this.
Yeah. Now this movie did have a real serious budget, 160.
Yes, as you can see on screen, right?
Yeah,
They're going for that
$160 million
Titanic
budget.
money, Mike.
What's that?
They're going for that Titanic money.
Oh yeah.
They're pitching that. They pitched their tent right in the middle of James Cameron's budget.
So, $160 million. This movie has an oops of an opening weekend at 16.1, and only 48.6 million in the USA, but 164.5 million in the world. So once again, the world comes through, trying to
I wonder how
bail
much
out
of
a
that
bad
is
movie.
France.
What's that?
I wonder how much of that is France. This just feels like a movie that the French would enjoy.
Right.
I don't know why. I have no basis for that. It's just what I think. I mean, you might remember. I don't. I never saw this at the movie theater. Why were people so averse to even going on the opening weekend? Was it getting bad previews?
Yeah, I think even before it came out,
Yeah.
the movie was getting a serious, bad word of mouth.
I remember seeing the trailer in the
Uh-huh.
movie theater. And,
Well, it didn't make you want to go see it
Well, I was a snob back then. I wouldn't see movies like that at the time.
because of your teacher. We were
No,
talking.
that was pre my that was
Okay.
First of all, that was an off-air conversation. Secondly, it was before that. I know I was just a real snob. I do remember back-to-back trailers in must have been 96. When did Star Trek Generations come out? 96? Or was that 90?
That feels
That feels late, doesn't
late.
it?
Well,
Okay, maybe I want to scrap this, but I seem to I remember seeing the trailer. Maybe it was two separate occasions. I remember it being back to back, but the way that the trailer was cut had maniacal laughter from one of the characters, Willem Dafoe in Speed 2 and Data and Star Trek Generations.
yeah, because I want to say Generations is like 94.
Yeah, it's 94, so my memory must be faulty.
All right.
But I associate seeing those two trailers and not seeing those two films. and the common denominator is that at one point a character breaks out in maniacal laughter.
Well, this certainly
the
has
trailer.
that.
Yeah. Little
All
did
right.
I know that would be the highlight of the film.
I know. Oh man, it really got me this time, and this whole last sequence really got me this time.
Yes.
It's a special bit of business, but let's save it.
Yeah.
What did you think of 20th Century Fox logo melting into water?
Well, first of all, it's great to see the 20th Century Fox logo before the constituent elements of the logo were taken away. What is it now, like 2-0 or what's left?
Yeah, I don't
Is there
know.
anything left?
2000.
Oh, Yeah, I mean, okay. I
It just
don't
waterfalls, like my note was 20th century waterfalls into
yeah.
action of the most generic kind.
Yes. I think the logo shtick was fine. I mean, there's a noticeable drop off because I think very highly of the Speed titles. They're like burned in my brain as the sort of classic early 90s fat blue lettering. But this was just like epilepsy inducing kind of.
Right.
And of course, you know, like,
well, and the music that goes along with it, you know,
right?
Because they're hearkening back to Speed music, but it feels like
the
they're
riff in there,
right? You know how they sort of elevate things into sequels, you know, try to.
It's an act of subterfuge, is what it is. It's like as is like the road becoming water. It's sort of like, yep, road. I remember road from Speed, and now we're in the water. Okay, we're in the water.
Yeah.
Why are we in the water? But we're well to be. I mean, we go to the water, but then we go back to the road.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the business of
a car chase,
recasting Keanu Reeves in real time.
Yeah. We have a not even a car. It's a van/motorcycle chase that makes no sense.
This is it, right? Like it's a Ducati chasing a mobile cleaning service van.
Yeah.
So it's like we're trying to capture the essence of the original, but in less exciting ways.
Right. So at the beginning of Speed, a madman, our main villain, has taken over an elevator, and this squad, what is the squad called? Suicide Squad?
Yeah, sure.
I always thought it was called the Zombie Squad.
Okay.
I thought I had remembered that. And then they said, I think the Suicide Squad, and I was like, that can't be right. I have a mental Mike Shantz 90s memory of
you
the
trust
zombie.
Their memory of Speed over yours?
I know, and then they never said zombie.
I would bet on you.
I think the video versions have a different cut.
Yeah. Oh, it's perfectly possible.
But at any rate, you know, we're talking about some sort of SWAT/bomb squad in the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's chasing a van with stolen goods. It seems like a waste of resources for the talents of this particular squad.
This opening sequence asks you to accept so much up front.
Oh, man.
But it's
heavy
really
on the scales of what it wants you to understand and trust and know.
I only learned recently that Jason Patric wasn't supposed to be the same character that Keanu Reeves played.
Oh, wow, really?
I always assumed...
That's one of my first questions for you. Do you think they would have been better served to just say, he's Jack?
Now, not necessarily.
Uh-huh.
If they'd have played it right.
Well, they don't...
No, but
they don't do anything in this movie... part of the problem is, A, they show you Joe Morton again. So it's the same team.
Well,
which means this guy must have worked with Keanu Reeves at some point.
Right, but okay, so I gotta break this down, okay?
Okay.
So they're introduced. So he's a surrogate for Jack.
Right.
We know he's not Jack from the outset. He's called Alex, so we know he's not the same guy.
Right.
But he has the same job, and the same colleagues, and the same bosses.
Right.
And I like the direction that goes in because what it says. Because I think you could blend the legacy.
But you have to
and the
acknowledge
character.
it, Tom.
No, listen. You can blend the legacy and the surrogate character in the idea that Sandra Bullock's Annie, is always going for the same type of guy.
Yeah.
But that's not what they do.
No.
Because it's not the way that they should have met is that he was one of Jack's colleagues, and that's how they met. But they met completely randomly, and yet they have the same. He has the same boss of Jack. Think of that as a coincidence.
Huge.
They both work under Joe Morton. And yet Annie, who is a common denominator to all of them, met Jack and Alex in completely separate situations.
Coincidence in this movie is writ large, like throughout.
And then, but she met him under the false pretenses that he was a traffic cop.
Yeah.
So she's actively trying to get a boyfriend who is not like Jack. And she's ended up with him like Jack. So
And also
the
a
movie
liar.
squanders the only opportunity of that this would ever make sense.
She's ended up with another Jack, but a Jack who's a liar.
Right, but she thought he was a different guy.
And that's the other
So
thing.
this idea
Right.
that she always goes for the same kind of boyfriend makes no sense. But that's totally what they should have done.
Right,
Because
absolutely.
they have the same job and the same boss.
And I think what strikes you, certainly on my first viewing of this movie way back when, was that they treat this the way a sitcom would treat it.
That's very true.
And that's not good for a major motion picture. You don't want that.
I'll go on better.
Uh-huh.
I would say this movie begins as a romantic comedy.
Right, but with a chase.
This is for quite a while this movie is a romantic comedy.
Yeah.
And
And you can tell that because of how they treat Annie at the beginning of this movie with, of course, with Tim Conway. So
Yeah, well, yeah. And again, I think this is the equivalent of the flipping ninjas in Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like-
right.
It's like we're throwing legacy characters and actors and celebrity cameos at you just to distract you from the nonsense that's going on.
Yeah.
Because at a narrative level, what you have to accept in this opening sequence is an astonishing.
Oh, it's
amount of
amazing.
information.
I have notes like, no human being drives like that. I
Well,
don't
yeah,
believe
right.
that. I can't suspend my disbelief enough to believe that Annie drives a car like. If you're taking a driving test, you try to at least get your shit together enough to pay attention to
Yeah.
what's on the road in front of you. And she's
Yeah.
just talking about her relationship as though she's not taking a test.
And in addition to all those coincidences that we've already talked about, the movie is also asking us to accept that Alex moonlights as a traffic cop when he's not doing SWAT. Right? He fills in for traffic officers when he's not doing SWAT team work.
That's just his cover line. He just says, yeah, I mean, sometimes I fill in for a friend. I don't know that
And-
cops actually do that, which also lends to the...
I don't think they're legally allowed to do
Right,
that,
exactly.
more to the point.
that lends to the lack of credibility for this choice to be made for the script.
And also, I think if you are
Suicide Squad, I think they call it.
Okay. If you
Did
are
I say that
replacing-
before? I can't remember what I called it before.
Yeah, you said you thought it was called Zombie Squad.
But what was the name I
Suicide Squad.
Okay, all right.
And that so if you're trying to get an audience to accept that your replacement lead is a guy in his own right,
Mhm.
don't have a character say to him, "I don't even know who you are,"
Right.
because we don't know who he is,
Right.
and we need to know. We can't leave him an enigma.
Yeah.
This whole scene should be about who is this guy, how is he different from or similar to Jack, and the movie blows every aspect of that.
Out of the water, so to speak. And also, when you juxtapose it against Speed, by the time that, for lack of a better couple words, cold open is open, but at the time that opening scene in Speed is, cold open after the credits,
But it's a different.
you know exactly who Jack is.
Well, but I mean, that is very much the original movie starts with what is very much a standalone action set piece.
Yeah.
To begin the movie, I think what they're trying to do is to try to do the previous film in a microcosm.
Right.
Because they know they're going to the water and they'll never be back on the road.
Because they
And
know that after this, they're going to have 2 full hours worth of movie left.
Yeah.
So they're
And
trying to
just-
get through it quick.
Again, I think they're trying to smooth the transition from this being a road-based franchise to a water-based franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, you know, their lubricant is making things worse.
I know everything about it is so clunky because
Their lubricant
I've been
is
thinking
making
we'd
is
go
make,
away.
is sticky.
Yeah. I've got us tickets that we haven't discussed together at all.
But that's it. Like, if you're in the middle of a rom-com, you would accept all this.
Right.
And that's what they're going for. Everything. The music, the dialogue, the scenario. That's where we are generically.
Yeah.
And as you say, like, you know, we're in the middle of a sitcom.
Yeah.
Or a variety show from the 1960s.
That once you have Tim Conway there too.
Right.
That's
We're
what it
doing a
feels
sketch.
like.
It's
Yeah.
a sketch on the Carol Burnett show about
Oh.
driving instructors, right?
It's amazing.
With, I don't know, Goldie Hawn as Annie. It's
Yeah.
like that's we're setting out on a very different path from the one we're used to in this franchise. But given that this is the sequel, the sequel is what establishes the franchise.
Yeah.
As a franchise. So we're saying that I don't know what we're saying.
Well, and
We're
I
saying
remember,
we're not doing the same movie, that's for sure.
You know what's funny is that I remember seeing that original Speed, and I had seen Joe Morton before because, of course, we had Terminator 2.
Yeah.
But it's one of the first times I just remember thinking that an actor was doing so much with such a small part, which is what I also thought of him in Terminator 2.
Right. And everyone in Speed, Jeff Daniels,
Yeah.
Alan Ruck.
But I remember him giving so much legitimacy to the cop side of it.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
With things like they say the bridge is out, but he's saying, well, it's done on the goddamn map. It's like he had taken the time and the care. In this movie, he's saying things like, look out, and empty boxes are falling out. And he has lines like, hold your fire, he's too far away.
But he's not playing the same function in this movie. He's just a cigar store Indian,
Yeah, right.
It's like later on in the movie when they show you a bus. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like it's just something that puts you in mind of the first movie.
And that's it.
And that's it. The people playing that function in this movie is Boba Fett and Brian McArdle.
Boba Fett.
No, but it is. They're the professional side of they're the Joe Mortons of this movie.
I understand.
Think about that.
Right.
Compare and contrast, if you will. You are not in safe hands.
He's not a bad actor, though.
But Tamara Morrison.
Tamara
no.
Morrison, yeah.
They're just idiotic characters.
No,
so.
yeah, completely.
Well,
and what's his name? Is
Brian
Merced?
McArdle's. Brian McArdle's a really good character actor as well.
Oh man,
I don't understand pairing the two.
Love him in
and
this
making
movie.
them sailors. But...
Love him. There's no actor I've ever maybe felt more sorry for ever than Brian McArdle or McCarty, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think it's McCarty. Brian McCarty, as the boat's ramming into, and he has to sit there in front of a shaking camera saying 13 knots, 12 knots, 10 knots, and then fall to the ground and still say like 3 knots from the ground.
Correct.
Oh, so good.
We get to the cruise ship pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And again,
and I got to tell you, once we get to the cruise ship, this movie gets significantly better.
Yeah, it is a relief that we're no longer in the driving test.
Oh.
Again, it's pure imbas. The sequel takes the characters on vacation.
Yeah.
The classic example being the feature film spin-offs of British 1970s sitcoms where they all went to Spain. That's what it makes me think of. That's clearly what's going on here. And it's also a weirdly large because I don't know if you agree with this, but the first movie they created a single vehicle environment, right? So the
Right.
single vehicle that the majority of the film takes place on here is a cruise ship.
Yeah.
So we've gone from a very closely contained area to like a city on the sea.
Yeah.
That's an inversion, but it's also it's more of a kind of like they've reinterpreted the idea of a single vehicle.
That's one of the things I feel like was a what sorry, that sounds stupid to say. One of the things that was a misstep for this movie. But it does feel as though
No, it's a pretty big misstep though.
yeah. But it
As
feels
it goes.
what I was going to say was that this movie feels like it's treating the ship like it's the bus.
Yes, yes.
But it's
yes,
so
yes,
much
yes.
bigger. So they're trying to make you feel as though it's a confined space when it
Right.
is anything but.
It's not a confined space, and it's not going very fast.
Right. All right.
Um,
I mean, that's a good start.
yeah, we're on the ship already.
So we're on the boat. Why don't we take a break?
Yeah,
Then we'll come back. How about that?
yeah, and then we pretty much got Willem Dafoe's entrance straight after that.
Right. What do you notice about a guy not watching golf? That's my question to you. We'll be right back.
I like to think I know something about beer, but nowadays even I get overwhelmed when confronted by the exhaustive selection of craft beers they have at bars, breweries, and even grocery stores. Back in the day you had one, maybe two craft beers to choose from, and if you were confused, you ordered a Guinness. But in beerstinations like San Diego, the craft beer options lately are in double, sometimes even triple digits. So what's a beer drinker to do? You need what I need, the Vegas Beer Guys. Your beer of choice should be a perfect blend of malt and hops. And so a live show about beer needs that same balance. And the Vegas Beer Guys matches beer expert Dan Aker with self-proclaimed beer novice Stephen J. Weiss. The results are eminently drinkable. They're on Facebook, they're on Instagram. They'll try new beers, they'll tell you about beer. Think of them as your beer Sherpas guiding you up a foamy-headed mountain to reach the peak of your pint. God, I need a beer.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Tom and I are here discussing Speed 2 Cruise Control, the 1997 film directed by Jan de Bont. He's kind of quit, hasn't he?
I guess so. I've not encountered him
Yeah.
for quite a while.
You were just saying off mic that this film feels as though the writer did absolutely no research.
Yeah,
And
into boats, into
anything.
police work, into
Yeah.
and I suspect
Relationships.
the representation of golf, the representation of golf in
Yes.
this movie is flawed. I wouldn't know, but I suspect, given the movie's track record, I think
It
if you're
made
a
me-
hardcore golfer, you would be like, those balls are all wrong. Though he shouldn't have those clubs.
Yeah. It made me curious, so I looked up Randall McCormick, one of the screenplay writers. So in addition to Speed 2 Cruise Control in 1997, there's a movie called Psycho Sushi that I do not know.
No.
He did the story for Titan AE, but then we have, as the writer, Scorpion 2 or Scorpion King 2, Rise of a Warrior, Blue Crush 2, and Scorpion 3 or the Scorpion King 3, Battle for Redemption. So,
What's the bet that at least one of those Scorpion King movies is directed by Don Michael Paul?
I think you might be right.
You'd never get odds on that, would you?
Why does that sound familiar?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, it's yeah. There's no
But it's, it seems like we're dealing with a type.
It does. That all tracks. Writers who do not enjoy research.
Oh, one of the writers did a movie you hate.
You say that as if it might be a surprise. What movie is that?
Well, it's a movie we've argued about. Catch Me If You Can.
Oh, I don't hate it.
And The Terminal.
I do hate that movie. But I don't hate this movie.
Ooh, and the story for Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
It's not getting any better, is it?
No. All right, that's enough for Writer's Corner.
I think you could dispute that credit under the Trade Subscription Act.
Right.
Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and story. My lord.
Well, when last we left you, we were talking about the ever-presence of Alex Shaw, as played by Jason Patric, who is never going to stop being a cop and notices golf guys not watching golf.
Well, you alluded to that, and that's absolutely right. He's not doing anything suspicious, yet the film is telling you he is. But
Yeah.
also, isn't it kind of a weird note to nearly catch the villain before they do anything?
Right?
I don't think that's doing story right.
This is to say nothing of the fact that we're dealing with a cop who's already been proven to be a liar, and and I, he says, "Listen, let's not break up. Let's get away and really get to know each other."
Yeah.
But then plans on asking her to marry him.
Mm-hmm.
This is a classic male move of a guy who just doesn't get it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You are not reading the room, sir.
Mm-hmm. He'd be better off with that 15-year-old deaf girl.
Which this movie proposes he might be able to do. For fuck's sake.
We'll get there. Sadly, we will get there. And the first thing, you said they're treating the cruise ship like it's a buzz. And another way in which they're doing that is they're trying to create another ensemble of colourful characters out of both the staff and the crew and the passengers. Mm-hmm. Like everyone is larger than life in their own way, except for Willem Dafoe, who, to my surprise, and unlike Dennis Hopper in the original Speed, comes in lukewarm.
Right.
Like, he's doing naturalistic acting.
Yeah.
For the first few minutes of we see him, and that was my first thought. I was like, wow. I mean, way to turn the Dennis Hopper on its head.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he and the course of the movie is a slow burn in which he goes from grumpy golfer to Green Goblin.
Yeah, right.
And it's actually a really well-paced performance.
By the end of this movie,
that
you're
I
like,
completely
get this guy.
buy.
By the end of this movie, you're like, get this guy a mirror to talk into.
I'm something of a naval program computer person myself.
Right.
I don't really.
Isn't
know
it a delight, by the way, to look at a 1997 movie and see computer type graphics?
Yeah.
From 1997. Oh, I love it.
Something that struck me at this point when we get on the boat, this formula, the Speed formula works much better when the couple get together as a result of the crisis instead of starting the film that way.
Mm-hmm.
Just an observation.
Just something I noticed.
Along with the great elderly extra acting in the crane to helicopter shot of the cruise ship.
Mm-hmm.
They do that pull-out that we've talked about from the Dirty Harry movies. That
Yeah,
we don't
right.
Quite know
Exactly.
how they do without a camera operator running into a helicopter. That's the only way I can imagine it working, and I'm sure that's not what's happening. But there's just so many old men dancing badly. Like it makes me think this is exactly what a cruise ship would be like, and why I would want to leave it immediately.
And so, I mean, you talked about it. We're going to meet everybody. We got Mike Haggerty, who we already talked about. Colleen Camp is there.
Mm-hmm.
I
Amy
mean,
Robertson.
Well, let's talk about Lois. I mean,
Lois Chiles, yeah.
It's time.
Well, when I saw Lois Chiles lead her hearing impaired daughter in an
Right.
ASL version of Can't Help Falling in Love with You by UB40.
Right.
I was like, I'm not sure where this is going. I definitely know it's going to be offensive to deaf people at some point.
Right.
Well, so my other big note about that scene is how much Sandra Bullock and Jason Patric look like siblings rather than lovers.
Yes. Do these two...
Unlike her and Keanu,
Right.
who look like lovers.
Well,
look
and not
like
just
brother
that,
and
because
sister.
they have so much chemistry. Is there a single moment of chemistry between these two actors in this movie?
No,
There really isn't.
I don't know if
And
the
it just
movie
makes you wonder...
Yeah, I don't know if the movie depends on it, but yeah, there's not.
Oh,
This movie gets by fine without it, but there's no chemistry, no.
What gets by fine without it?
The movie gets by fine without their chemistry.
You think so?
Yeah.
Because, would you say that about the original Speed, that the movie doesn't need that?
No.
Okay. All right.
And I guess I suppose, like, once UB40 start playing, they're bringing jewelry to all the tables. Everyone's overeating. There's just this sort of sense of, like, self-satisfied excess.
Yeah.
That is kind of what it must be like on a cruise ship. I don't think it's inaccurate. Right. I don't know where it's going. I don't know why I'm seeing it. But... and then speaking
well, we
of
also see how much little time it takes for Geiger to take over this ship completely.
Right. And I don't want you've already alluded to the lack of chemistry, and I don't want to flog a dead horse, but Alex and Annie starting, and they also have the same first letter in their name, which
I know
adds to the siblingness of them.
It doesn't help.
They start talking in euphemisms, talking about servers when they really mean sex.
Yeah, right.
Now I think of the gold standard of this kind of dialogue as being The Big Sleep, with Bogey and Bacall.
Right.
Sort of like how can you go the distance? Depends on who's in the saddle. Comparatively, I don't even know who's supposed to be the server and who's supposed to be the person being served. Like, their role play, they've not even got defined roles within their role play.
They don't have defined roles within their role play, and by the time they even stop trying to do any of that, one of them is sick.
Yes.
Did
I don't want to... You're absolutely right. At this point, Geiger's taking over the ship.
Yeah.
With his kind of drunk act.
Right, yes.
His physical comedy drunk act. Did this make you think of Superman 3? With the Richard Pryor trying to control the two computers? Except, of course, he's not really drunk.
Right. No, I didn't really go to Superman 3, I guess because
scene.
he didn't have to tie a rope against anybody's hand and key in.
No, he gets all the... he stumbles
Really, he gets it all from
the
just
right
one...
way.
Yeah, he just gets it from one sticky...
Yeah.
Transistor.
Which
I also love later in the movie that Jason Patric he knows exactly what's up. There's got to be something here. It's got to be right.
Yeah.
Like he knows all the places to look.
And the crew are like, we work with these switches every day, and we have no idea.
And we have no idea what's happening.
They're like,
and he has no.
They're like the fake crew from Avenue 5.
Yeah. and Jason Patric seemingly has no frame of reference for computer shit, but he knows when something's sending signals.
So you've alluded to this. They're in the cabin. Alex is vomiting into an ice bucket.
Yeah.
Lolita's on the TV.
It's like somebody explain that to me. Choice.
Here's the thing. I originally thought it was a total non sequitur. And then I thought about what we've already talked about, which is that he's being desired by a 15-year-old girl.
By a 15-year-old deaf girl, yes.
I think that's the connection.
That's a terrible
connection. Because the only other time we see someone watching a movie in this movie, it's The Enemy Below.
Yeah,
so you can see the connection there, right? There's sort of like two ships colliding into each other. So I think there's got to be a connection here, and that seems to me the most obvious one.
It's the only one.
It's the only one.
But this should not be on this movie's mind.
No.
Hollywood,
I guess, but
get
here's
your
the
shit
thing, like,
together.
also, what's interesting is the choice to make him seasick, because that makes him far more vulnerable than the kind of typical male action hero.
Yeah, but for 4 minutes, he's fine.
He's fine after that. Yeah.
The next morning, he's shooting.
I'm not
he's
saying it's successful. Don't confuse what I'm saying as. I'm just saying that
we go with a zoom in on his vomit bucket, and
it's a terrible choice. No one wants to see that.
terrible, so bad. But we cut from that to him skeet shooting the next morning.
That's true. And this is the first appearance of the leeches.
Yeah,
Clearly, again, credit to Dafoe. He's clearly really putting leeches on his body.
right.
So he's definitely again he's playing the character, and like he's giving his character an arc that builds throughout the movie, and he's physically committed to the role. Again, I
Yes.
see there's no room for criticism
Right.
of anything he does in this movie. Yeah,
But-
and we don't know the significance of the leeches yet, but we will learn that later. We know that he's a former around this point we learn that he is, like Dennis Hopper, a former employee turned bad.
Yeah.
Although he's not a cop, although the movie kind of treats him like he's an ex-cop, but I think that's just
Right.
because the movie doesn't think too hard about things. And he has a great moment where he suddenly throws the captain overboard and goes from like
I think that scene is
creepy,
hysterical.
creepy to maniacal in like a blink of an eye.
If for no other reason than he's kind of using a spotlight that is like on a fulcrum, like it's all this captain has to do is take 2 steps back, and Willem Dafoe cannot hit him with anything because all he's got is this thing attached to the side of the boat. It's so funny.
But he pulls that off in terms of acting very well.
Oh yeah.
It struck me at this point that it's that this movie, if you think about Speed and how we get from the first action set piece to the second action set piece, this is a much longer transition.
Yes, right.
And then perhaps what comes after this is perhaps the revelation to me of the whole movie, which is that Jan de Bont is trying to scoop James Cameron's Titanic.
Mm-hmm.
Because that comes out in a few months.
Titanic's December.
Right? This is July, right? Or something like that.
I think so.
So he must have known that Titanic was coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of the lifeboat stuff, the evacuation of the ship,
It all feels
keep dancing. They knew what they were doing. They're trying to scoop Titanic. It's
Well,
shameless.
they didn't.
No.
I remember talking with Chu when we were doing all the monster movies, underwater monster movies from 1989.
Yeah.
And the name of one of the directors is escaping me right now. But, he was friends with James Cameron, who
Right.
had The Abyss coming out that year. And Cameron had called him and said, don't put your movie out early in the year. And the guy was like, well, I'm gonna.
Yeah.
And they the friendship kind of broke up over that for many years because James Cameron is James Cameron, I guess. And I just remember thinking the same thing when I saw this. Like,
Yeah.
if he was going to give a call to Jan de Bont saying, hey, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Because this was actually, Titanic was supposed to be a summer movie.
Mm-hmm.
And its budget problems, because everything was taking so long, they pushed it back to December.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure this was a June release, like an early first couple of weeks of June for Speed 2.
Oh, it's absolutely shameless. I mean, it's clearly what it's
So
going
funny.
For. Some pretty fantastic practical explosions, though.
Well,
I mean,
you cannot deny that, like, where they do spend their money, there are things that look really good.
yeah.
There are other moments where you're clearly seeing a CGI yacht
It's the propellers
heading towards
that are the
shore, and
problem.
you go, well,
It's the propeller. I don't mind that so much.
and the propeller, yeah.
It's the propellers, and
Yes.
you don't need to see the propellers that closely.
No.
We know the ship is either moving or it is not. There's no need for a CGI propeller. And you know what? I'm even willing to forgive some of the shaky camera work. You know, if you can't have that in a when a ship is crashing, when are you
When
gonna
can
have
you?
it?
Yeah.
Boba Fett takes over the captaincy of the ship.
He has no choice.
Yeah, just like Jabba's palace.
Right.
Yeah, Tamara Morrison, this time rising star in Hollywood.
Mhm.
And he's had several renaissances since.
Yeah.
Most of them as Boba Fett, but I mean,
Right.
still.
Or the father of Aquaman.
Aquaman. So here's a kind of Imbas sequel inversion. In the first film,
Oh, wait, but I got a note that I
okay.
got to share. Because I'm pretty sure it's when he kills the captain.
uh-huh.
Because there's a bit of dialogue there. Did you track it? That is so delicious. Because
No, go
at
for
one point, the captain says, there's an exposition dump where he's
Mhm.
explaining his copper poisoning.
Oh well, let's talk about that.
Again, I'd like to know how much research was done on that.
Well, I know what they're referencing, so carry
Okay.
on.
But so there's that exposition dump followed by the captain saying, "What are you talking about?"
Mm-hmm.
And that line of dialogue is followed by Willem Dafoe saying, "That's what pisses me off. You don't even know what I'm talking about." That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is so good.
That's two people.
Because those are two
that's a-
characters talking about the inner thoughts of the audience.
Yeah, and it's also it's also a screenwriter using two characters' dialogue to distract from the fact that he doesn't know what's going on
Yeah.
by having two characters say it to each other.
Oh, it's so good.
It's literally like going, "Look over there,"
Yeah.
and then running away. Well, you brought up copper poisoning,
Yeah.
so the reference here, I think, is Alice in Wonderland and the Mad Hatter, right?
You think?
Yeah, because the Mad Hatter was a reference to people in the hat industry who went crazy because of lead poisoning. Because lead was contained in the hat making process, and they all went crazy. And I think that's what they're
I don't
referring
know
to
if
here.
I don't know if the writers
You telling
were-
me Willem Dafoe isn't act like the Mad Hatter in this film?
I might
And
have
that's
to
definitely what they're going for.
I might have to concede that point. My point was that
I don't think copper poisoning is a thing
Well, so I was curious.
for IT people. I've not heard many IT people.
Well, and that's the thing is that I can't find out if this is like related at all to computer stuff. Because I read that sudden copper poisoning is rare,
Yeah,
first of all,
unsurprisingly.
but that it can cause severe, health problems, obviously.
But he would have to be taking the copper out of every wire,
Right, exactly.
which is not what I think IT people do.
I don't think so either.
So yeah, but what I was saying before, in the original movie, Dennis Hopper wants the passengers on the ship. Willem Dafoe's plan is to get them off the ship.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's an impasse.
But his plan is to get them off the ship so that he can steal diamonds that we've never talked about up until the moment where he steals them.
No, we
and-
saw them. They were taken around the restaurant.
Yeah, but barely. I mean, we have like why
I don't know, I
does
think
he
that's a pretty clear. Like I was like, I'm probably going to see that jury again at some point.
why does he want them? He's gonna die anyway.
Do UB40 get in the lifeboats?
Oh, I don't know.
We should have had at least one shot of them
That would be amazing.
with their Brummy accents.
My favorite part about the
help us,
lifeboats,
Hmm?
you were referencing earlier we were talking about the parents.
Well, I think you have the same note I do.
You were talking about Lois.
Yeah. I don't know if you're about to say this, but I love that the parents of a hearing impaired child have to remind each other that their daughter can't hear.
Right.
Is that what you were going to say?
Yeah, I was going to not only say that, but I was also going to say that as they're getting off the boat, and we've already established, like, this movie is trying to treat this giant boat like it's a small boat.
Yes.
So they're shuffling everyone off, and their deaf daughter is missing.
Yeah.
She's what, 15 or 14?
15. Oh no, she's 14. She's 14 going on
15. So a 14-year-old deaf child is missing on a boat with a madman on it.
Yeah.
And the husband has this line, Celeste, we've looked everywhere. As in, get on the lifeboat and get the fuck off this boat. Our daughter's on her own.
But doesn't that speak to a greater truth that he does that guy, he's over his deaf daughter?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I got from their first scene together. That he's over having
had
to
enough
like,
of
spell
that.
everything out for her.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
That's a good point to either stop the podcast or to stop the episode or just stop the podcast.
yeah. Why don't we at least take a break and then we'll come back? We'll start getting into the golf balls or bombs portion of the movie,
Yep. I have a lot to say about that as well.
along with everything else.
And the return of Boba Fett.
There you go. We'll be right back. Does the coronavirus have you feeling oogie? Have you been sitting on your couch for weeks? Nay, have you been sitting on there for months? Well, it's time for you to get back in shape. Check out 2AT Fitness. You can find them on Instagram. You can find them on Facebook. 2AT Fitness was started by Tina Bernard. She is ready and raring to go to help you get back into the shape you want to get into. They've got all kinds of classes. They've got outdoor in-person classes. They've got online classes if that's what you prefer. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get back in shape. You're going to find a variety of exercises. You're going to have strength training, cardio, weightlifting, even fun 5-minute burnouts that will push you to your limits. So get off the couch, get into shape. Go ahead and check out 2AT Fitness. Tina Bernard has got you for all your needs. I know her personally. She's fantastic. You're not going to meet a better person to help you become the new you. Check it out. We're back once again, ladies and gentlemen. Tom and I are here trying to see if we can get Speed 2 cruise control under control.
Well, that's what cruise control is for. You don't need to control
Exactly.
it. Just sit back and enjoy the ride.
I love how much of this movie is just everybody in the sort of the helm of the ship watching this boat go faster than they want it to. Which to us, when they keep showing us establishing shots from the outside, it's just a boat going slow.
Yeah,
It's just
right.
going at something.
I say every disaster in this movie could have been prevented if people looked back quickly after narrowly averting peril.
Yes.
If you look back quick, if you didn't take a moment after that happened to look to one side, there would be no movie. Just as if like Jason Patrick nearly catches Willem Dafoe before he does anything.
Right. Well, and so I mean, we're at the portion of the movie where we're kind of jumping from set piece to set piece, but like each set piece is varied in terms of like length of time. You know what I mean? Like
I do.
when they're in the room on opposite doors of each other and chasing each other, and he's got to get the deaf girl, And then, Annie's got to save Alex, and then they got to, get on a rope underneath the boat for whatever reason. I can't even remember.
Sure. Yeah, no, I can't remember either.
Followed by heading towards an oil tanker. That sums up the whole, B portion of the story.
And Alex has to make a huge leap of logic. At one point, he goes, it would, the bomb would have to be the size of a golf ball. Golf balls,
Yes,
Geiger.
Right.
And I love that they make it seem like the B to the C is the bigger leap. It's like, no, the B to the C, golf balls to Geiger is a natural assumption. It's
bomb to golf ball is the huge across the Grand Canyon.
It's A to B is the problem, not B to C.
That's a Grand Canyon leap, that.
Yeah, I know. And it really does feel like Geiger and Alex have met before, other than at the bar of the cruise ship. I don't know if that was like a hangover from just the first movie or just an earlier draft of the script, but there's a cat and mouse element to it, which is unearned.
Yes, right.
These two guys don't know each other from Adam.
And it's funny because...
And it really feels like they do.
What's funny is because you're dealing with that in the first movie too. But because of the efficiency of that opening action sequence scene, it kind of melds those two characters together as adversaries in a way that carries through the rest of the movie. And this movie doesn't have that.
No. Another huge leap is that Alex knows ASL.
Oh, yeah.
And it just happens that the only passenger trapped in the ship is a hearing-impaired teenager.
That was a huge script convenience.
It really was.
Not even Annie knew about it.
So they treat pedophilia as a running gag.
Yes. No, you are not wrong at all. I'm in love with you, and I'm 15, or I'll be 15, I think.
I'm going to be 15 next month. On the plus side, the water flooding the ship looks great.
Yes.
Practically. It's a very viscerally effective.
I won't take that away from this movie.
But we blow the fact that this is a disappointing sequel in the line, "I've been in worse situations than this," which Annie says. It's like, so you're tacitly admitting that what happens in Speed has bigger stakes than what's
happening
now?
On screen right now.
It's also weird how this movie treats the extreme circumstances line from the original as if it's become some kind of catchphrase.
Yeah, exactly.
That's very strange to me. I don't think.
Well,
again,
and also,
unearned.
Alex is the one saying it, right? Doesn't he say it to the deaf girl?
He says it to the deaf girl. Annie says it to him. He says it to Annie. It comes up again and again again, like everyone.
Does Annie say it to him before he says it to the deaf girl? Because it's as though he and Annie have had a conversation about Jack. You know?
Right. Because, well, in the original, they both say it to each other at different times. But in this movie, it just feels like everyone is saying it as if
it's "I'll be back"
or "Dynamite." You know, like everyone knows it in the world of the film.
I like that Alex, once he figures something is amiss, he goes into the bridge and just says, "What do these do?" and starts hitting buttons.
Yeah, I have no I think I've said this before. I have no confidence in this crew. At one point, he says, "I'm LAPD," and Brian McCarty asks, "What's LAPD?" I mean, he's from Scotland. How can he have not heard of the LAPD? Yeah. And then, of course, the scene when it's a choice between Boba Fett or Annie as to who is gonna tie the knot to secure the thing that blows the door. It's always gonna be Annie. And as far as I'm aware, one of the things that sailors are renowned for doing
Tying
is
knots.
tying knots. And yet they're trusting it with Annie instead of Boba Fett. And you know what? I think it's the right choice.
Well, I thought they wanted Annie to do that because she doesn't have anything else to do.
Apart from nearly kill
Well, except for chainsaw
people with
doors.
chainsaws.
Fuck's sake.
It's a very strange. It's
It's kind of hard to
few
watch
sequences.
Alex running all about the ship, taking care of everything, when in the previous movie, Annie is the central figure to making sure everybody doesn't die, because she's driving the bus. You know?
Yeah. Right.
And that's
no one's driving anything here. No one's capable of driving
exactly,
anything.
except Geiger. Geiger's driving the boat exactly where he wants it to go, which is into an oil tanker.
Which is into an oil tanker. The movie even gets in the way of how good Willem Dafoe's performance is at times, because when he's got like a recorded monologue that plays on the big screen in the restaurant as well, all the shit's going down, and I'm just like, I just want to see that. Like, I don't want to see anything else that's going on. Like, I can't hear what... I bet this is good, because Willem Dafoe is good. He's the only thing in this movie I'm invested in. I don't care how many blinking beacons there are, how much shit is exploding. But, as with the jewelry being like a setup for what Willem Dafoe's stealing, apparently them going to the mall earlier in the movie was... was a setup. I just thought they were going to the mall, but now, like, just as in Hudson Hawk, Annie is following the music to find where the mall is. But yeah, I mean, they're so far away from what they're going to be hitting.
Yeah.
That it feels like that scene in Austin Powers with the security guard and the slow moving
the steamroller, yeah.
They're so, like, visually, like you say, visually, they're so far away from it. And there's 50 minutes left in the movies. You're like, is this just going to be 50 minutes of, like,
turning?
Slowly crawling towards the auto? I really thought it was going to be.
Well, part of the problem,
and
too,
I kind of like that it's not.
Is that they do this thing where Alex is with who? The guy who's always taking pictures? Or videoing? He like works on the boat, and they.
Yeah, he's the photographer. He's either Dante or Ashton.
They're taking turns hand cranking the turning mechanism for the boat. But that is, it works like visually on film. It works in a way in which you think that boat was like they had so much time.
Yeah.
Where it just looks ridiculous when the boat finally turns and like kind of sideswipes the oil tanker, and you think, no, they didn't do that in time.
I do like how everyone in this movie keeps grabbing the steering wheel.
Oh, yeah.
And then asking a bunch of dumb questions. I think that's a great... I don't know if it's meant to be a running gag, but it's very satisfying. As I'm sure you'll suspect... I have a note here about the combination of underwater and slow motion.
Well, naturally.
You shouldn't do either, but you definitely shouldn't do both of them together. And this is one of the moments I think.
Now, is that just a slow bit, like when the thing that the rope's attached to wrenches free, and Alex sees it coming at him underneath the boat? And it's ooh,
yeah, underwater and slow motion, back to back. One negates the other, and this is I think the eyes and the smile on the line. So you met my nurses, worth the price of admission alone. Oh, and after this is where Boba Fett does a kind of screen test for George Lucas where he gets thrown off the sail barge.
Yes. Comically. And then this
appears to fall for his death and then
Yeah.
comes back. I bet he just sent that off to George Lucas.
This
and that's
movie
how he got
really
the
has
part.
to kind of bend over backwards to make sure that everybody we like doesn't die.
Well, that's true. And then in addition to that,
Or anybody they think we
won't-
like.
also for Geiger to be like getting away with what he's doing,
Uh-huh.
because at one point he's pointing his gun at the only person he's not
Right.
threatening, and everyone else in the scene has free reign to
Yeah.
just jump him. Yes. And along the way we get flashes of some of the, what's going on with some of the other passengers. One says, "How could this happen on our honeymoon?" Presumably we're supposed to feel sorry for them, but it just makes me hate their
Yes.
privilege when they say that. Just like, oh, I hate those guys now.
Well, it's like Annie
Um,
saying, "This is my vacation." You know?
Mhm. Just like Bruce Willis
Right.
in Good Day to Die Hard. Wasn't true then, ain't true now. When Annie goes off on a speedboat, there's absolutely nothing on the ship connected to the original movie. I find that hilarious. There's no connection to the original Speed anymore.
Well, yeah, we've lost all tethering.
And so so at least in my notes, we're starting to transition into what I suspect is both our favorite sequence.
Oh
in the
my
movie.
god, like hitting the boats to slow down. And then the ramming.
Yes, yeah. Well, that's where it starts. I'm going to take the whole everything
like-
up until
Yeah.
the docking in the marina.
This is a masterstroke of absurdity.
It really
And
is.
like starting with the ramming of boats in the bay, like there are so many fucking civilian deaths that must have occurred.
yeah,
Oh my god.
that's what I have. It's like all of the crew of the Bananas boat.
They're all gone. Yes.
The Peace on Earth boat. All those
Yep.
hippies are dead. I mean, I'm happy about that. Obviously.
You
It's called Live in Peace. It's just mercilessly blown from.
you
the
and Harry
water.
Callahan.
Well, this is like this is a pretty brutal turn for this so far relatively bloodless,
Yeah, exactly.
mostly
Exactly.
deathless film. And when we get, it's a scene of complete carnage and devastation.
Yes.
And a disaster of tsunami-like proportions, delivered at length with comedic
Yes.
relish.
Because and
It's nothing but
I've
sight gags until
talked about this before with Brian McCarty, but dispersed throughout all of this is him saying, "That's good. We're down to 16 knots."
People are dying out there.
And all that has to happen is every boat you hit has to cause carnage and destruction.
But it's so funny how like they're combining this huge scene of devastation with this sequence of sight
Yeah.
gags to the point where like they squeeze out an extra punchline at the end with the with like some the house, an extra few houses collapse.
Yes, right.
To squeeze out an extra punchline, I'm like, well, that's 10 more people
Yes.
dead. That adds to your
Right.
body count, all in the name of an extra punchline. And you've also got, speaking of stealing from other mid-90s movies, when the kid in the timeshare looks out the window and sees a ship
Right.
coming, and no one believes him. That's basically the scene from
Yes,
The Lost
exactly.
World. Done with a boat instead
Yeah.
of a dinosaur. I mean, that entire beach town is destroyed in front of our eyes.
Well, and not like and practically, because they built it. They
Yes.
built it out so that it could be destroyed.
Yeah, and it's. I mean, you've got some. I mean, just watch the sequence. If you're gonna watch any part of this movie, watch it. You've got sight gags like the ship crashes into a bottle, speedboat flies into
Yeah.
a shop, someone turns a sign in their shop from
From open to
open-
close
from
or
closed
closed
to-
to open to closed. Yeah.
yeah. There's all the business with the dog and the
Yes.
convertible. It's like full.
We're back
Buster
in
Keaton.
we're back in rom-com sitcom land.
Well, yeah, we're in a full-on silent
Yeah,
movie,
right.
really. Or the Lois Charles connection, Moonraker.
Yes.
Um,
Which we haven't mentioned, by the way. She is from Moonraker, so
she is from she's another Bond girl. That's
yeah,
two Bond
another
girls
Bond
in a row.
girl, and
I'm assuming there's not one in American Werewolf in Paris.
right, I don't think so. But she's
I mean,
also in
Julie Delpy
Creepshow
haven't made
too,
that
so
leap.
we'll visit her again someday.
Hopefully not that soon. So
Thanks for the ride,
and then-
lady.
I guess like the once this has happened and the cruise ship is wedged in the middle of the marina,
But the
killing
propeller's still
hundreds of
going.
people. The
Still
propeller's
CGI
going.
propeller, twirly whirly.
And we have the return of Glenn Plummer
Yes.
as a legacy character.
Coincidence rears its head again.
But that there's your sitcom, special guest appearance by. And again, this is a moment where the the movie is asking you to accept a level of coincidence that is not humanly possible.
Yes.
Glenn Plummer is having a different vehicle commandeered again
Yes.
by the surrogate of the legacy character
Yes.
in an entirely unrelated
Yes.
situation that also involves Sandra Bullock's Annie,
Right.
who
Because I love
whose
that
reason for being
Geiger.
there has nothing to do with the original
No.
movie either.
But I also like that Geiger takes her and he says, "Stay with me. You're my hostage." This is-
Yeah, on a double
This
jet
is the
ski
level of
with an
dialogue we
easily
got.
a double jet ski with an easily releasable single.
And also, just side note, because what's his name? Plummer.
Yes,
Glenn.
Glenn Plummer. I don't know what the character's
Okay.
called. I don't think
I
he has a
couldn't
name.
remember his first name. So
The character or the actor?
the actor.
It's Glenn Plummer, but I don't think the character's name.
I think it's
he's this
Maurice.
Guy with boat, guy
I think
with
the
car.
character's Maurice.
Oh, okay.
But Glenn Plummer is also with Allison Dean,
Hmm.
and I had to look it up because I recognize her, and she's from Coming to America. She's the sister.
Ah,
Yeah.
right. Interesting. Well, we've already mentioned Moonraker, but the harpoon reel on the plane is just pure license
Oh
to kill.
man.
Cold
But
open.
also
Oh, not cold open. The
in the
in
middle.
the middle with the drug deal.
But it's
Mhm.
so sublime, Tom. Because there are moments in this movie where they're showing what is like they're showing somebody actually being dragged, and you think, no, yeah, he'd give up. He like
Yeah. And here's some more 1997 movie crossover material. The Underwater Breath Kiss.
yeah,
Because when I saw that, I thought, well, I've seen this a
Sure.
lot. But I looked it up, and one of the big references is Tomorrow Never Dies, which came out in 1997.
That's right.
And is a
Oh
Bond
my
movie.
God.
So you can say what you want about this movie, but it is in the zeitgeist. It is of 1997. Well, I don't know what that says about 1997,
But did you have
it is hitting the 1997 nail on the
did
head.
you have moments while you're watching it with the harpoon gun and the getting onto the plane where you think, because there are moments where they're showing actual speed. Now we're finally doing things fast.
It only took an hour and 40 minutes, but we have some speed.
And I don't think we
yeah.
mentioned this, by
I
the
did.
way, but that yacht or the cruise ship crashing, I mean, like,
Yeah.
is that like 25 minutes? How long is that?
Yeah, it's a very long. This is what that was it. I said in the ranking episode, I kept checking the timer. I was like, I do not know how they're going to fill the rest of the
They
movie.
filled it with that
And then-
crash.
And then that sequence happens, and I'm like, well, that's taking care
Yeah.
of a lot of it. And I guess I have to be happy. I thought it was going to be wasted on what we've seen. It was just going to be a drawn out version of what we've seen.
No, it was
already.
like
It really isn't.
$140 million of the 160 that they spent.
Definitely. definitely. And it was all worth it. It's sublime. Like I said, I gave it a standing ovation.
You did say that. But
Yeah,
there's
I
there's
really
a
do.
moment
It's
where he gets on that plane and everything's happening so fast, and I think to myself, how are they going to show him getting off this plane? Because that plane has taken off now. It's like high in the air.
Yeah.
And then they have this terrible shot of them. Do they land just in the water or in the boat?
Yeah.
I can't
Mhm.
remember.
I can't remember either, but yeah, I remember thinking the same thing.
Man. So funny.
And the oil tanker explodes.
Yeah, oh, it does. And there's really
It's not
no
that's
reason for it to
underestimating
happen.
the environmental impact of this situation. I think.
Nobody's given any consideration to the environmental impact, no.
Yeah.
But there's really no reason for it to happen, right? It's just that Geiger is paying attention to other things that he doesn't see it.
Yes.
Right? And so he flies
Right.
the plane and then he thinks he's gotten enough lift, but then he rams into, a pole, right?
Again, it feels like 1997 is a more innocent time where you can just wantonly destroy an oil tanker without thinking about
The
what it
repercussions,
means
yeah.
in a bigger sense.
And also, when you're flying a plane and you hit an object, you just stick to that object. And that's pretty much it, right?
For the movie?
You don't topple over. I'm saying
I
that, the way that Jan de Bont tries to show us that this plane has gotten stuck to the oil tanker is pretty funny.
Mhm. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean it's everything pays
Oh,
off
so well.
in the end, but it takes 2 hours.
And
for
I
us to get
forget,
there.
what is it? The anchor, oh wait, is the tanker on fire and then his gas leaks onto it, or
Doesn't the plane doesn't he do a Christopher Walken View to a Kill kind of
yeah. Well, he
Laugh
does a
death?
laugh death for sure.
kind of kamikaze thing?
I think I said
into it?
laugh deaf. Laugh deaf.
No, there's death
There is
in this
deaf
movie.
in the movie, but
There's
that maniacal laughter is just sublime.
Yeah.
But I can't remember
Yeah,
if
he's
the
gone-
plane explodes and that fire hits the oil tanker. Anyway,
That's what I think. That's what I seem to remember
Okay.
happening. So yeah. So, but it's just that extra note of gratuitous destruction that you do need
right?
to sort of end this.
Why
movie.
not? You spend the last $20 million on that.
But again, the tone is still pure sitcom.
Oh yeah,
Because we see all the wanton destruction, and we've got a kind of Caribbean steel
Right,
drum playing. in the
exactly.
background. It's all good. It's no, hundreds of people died. It's not all good. And the sea, and you can't go into the sea for another 50 years because
Right.
of the pollution.
this is no longer a vacation spot.
Yeah.
But don't worry, Maurice got the jewels. Glenn Plummer's in the clear, because
We basically followed the jewels
yeah,
through the movie.
the jewels. We see the jewels once at dinner. We see the jewels be stolen, and then we see the jewels in the water, and that's it.
Yeah. That's it. That's as close to a through line as we get. But the movie's not over
Except
yet.
for the badge number.
Yes.
Badge number through
Appar-
line.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, that might be that
Well,
might be a good album
even when-
title. Badge number through line.
Apparently, this was too much. The movie was too much to pack into 2 hours because once we get into the credits, we loop back to the opening driving test scene.
We have to bring Tim Conway back.
And the only narrative
And clearly
reason to
Annie has
do
learned
this-
no lessons.
No, well that's it. But the narrative reason to do this is to see her
Yes.
pass, to sort of wrap up the first two movies, and it doesn't
No.
even do that. She nearly crashes. She crashes.
Not
and nearly
nearly.
hits a bus.
She does crash.
She does crash. Yeah,
Off screen. Yeah,
right?
we hear
it.
yeah.
Yeah. It's also we can see a bus.
right.
Really,
Let's
that's
bring
what-
that back.
So again, they've got the
We're
right
tying
idea.
it all
It would've
together.
been- But it's not tying
No.
anything together. Tying it together if she passed a test, like you say, if something had been learned. If we.
I'm saying
somewhere.
they think
But we've
they're
got nowhere.
tying it all together. Meanwhile, it's just a bunch
they-
of loose strands.
Yeah. Slanted credits unnecessary.
Always.
Just looks like an aspect ratio mistake. That techno version of the Speed theme is utterly hideous.
Yeah.
It feels like what the sequel is to the original movie in musical terms. Am I mad, or is there a number of songs credited that did not appear in the movie?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't-
Maybe
I
they were
don't-
playing on the speakers like over dinner in an instrumental fashion or something.
It must be, but there are some songs in there, like some really well-known songs,
Like what?
and I'm like, I do not remember hearing these in
Like
the movie.
what? You didn't write them down?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I didn't write that down, but
Damn it.
and then this is our second of two suspiciously specific disclaimers.
Yeah, well,
No oceans were polluted in the making of this film.
wow, I didn't notice that one. That one slipped by me.
First of all, patently not
that's
true.
You
It's impossible to do all
You
you,
blew
did at
shit
sea
up.
and not pollute the ocean.
You're telling me you got every
also-
bit of boat you rammed through, like the 17 boats you rammed through? I don't
Right.
believe you.
and also makes me think they very much polluted the ocean.
Right. It was another payment.
Yeah, it was just another. We, no. And the important thing is, no oceans were polluted. Wait, that was a. You were at risk of doing that? No.
I'm not saying
No,
no,
I'm just saying.
of course not.
No, I'm just saying no oceans were polluted. Oh,
You're always talking about
so-
the end zone lair.
it's
Bringing the
just-
Naked Gun back for you.
Mm-hmm. Quite something.
That's fantastic. Were there other?
That's it. That's all.
Yeah,
That's
that's
all
all
my
the credit check?
checks.
Wow.
Yeah, but I'm glad I saw it after all these years, and I'm glad I saw it now.
It got you right at the right time.
It really did. I think at any other time in my life, I wouldn't have had the patience for this film. Yeah. That's all I have.
I'm on the road to recovery of my hate from the first time I saw it. I
Yeah.
really did. I had a really delightful time watching it this time. It was really fun.
Yeah.
And if not for just separating myself from the top of your list, I think it'd be at the top of my list. You
Yeah.
know?
It's got in in the end it's just a numbers game. It's got
Yeah.
more about it than the other
It
two
does.
movies. More that works versus what doesn't
Which
work.
is crazy. That's a crazy thing to say.
And boy, is there a lot that doesn't work. The concept of the movie being
Yes, right.
being the biggest one.
That's great. Well, anything left for you, sir?
That's
All
it.
right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that does it. We've completed round 2 of the 1997 single sequels with Speed 2 Cruise Control. Coming up next, the movie we liked the least of the 3, An American Werewolf in Paris. So, strap in.
Could be. It's going to be a Bad Moon Rising.
To say the least. All right. That's it. For Tom Stewart of Lonesome Whistle Productions, Michael Shantz here. I'm of the How Dare You Awards. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Send us an email to everythingsequel@gmail.com to tell us your thoughts about Speed 2 Cruise Control. Hit him with one last thing of sugar, Tom.
Don't shoot, it's not a gun, it's just a computer.
That's amazing.
Some of the least compelling, most ill thought out lines of dialogue.
So much fun.
But in the fish mouth of Willem Dafoe, it all sounds like
we never gave any play to that kid he smacks over the head, who for no reason walks into his room when it says "don't clean."
I have a theory that every great performance in a movie has a moment just like that. It comes out of absolutely nowhere. That is entirely down to the actor. It's not scripted. It's not. It means nothing. But you can't have a great performance without it.
That's great.
Like Bill Murray putting his finger down the bowler's pants in Kingpin.
All right. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. When you hear us next time, God help us, we're going to be talking about An American Werewolf in Paris. And then we're moving on. All right. Until next time. Say goodbye, Tom.
Goodbye.
Done and done.